The R35 Nissan GTR has spent over a decade in production and will be the last purely combustion engine powered GTR. It will be remembered for many reasons, but to the Nissan Skyline enthusiast community, the R35 ushered in many critical firsts. For many fans, one of the most important was that unlike the R34 Skyline GTR and those before it, the R35 GTR was to become a world car, available in left-hand drive and across all major markets. Production started in late 2007 with the first customer deliveries made in 2008 as 2009 model year vehicles. Built in Kaminakawa, Tochigi Prefecture, Japan, the GTR has gone through several iterations and updates. As an interesting aside, during the development of the GTR, the Infiniti G35 that was in production at the time was used as a test mule in 2004 for the GTR. The exterior was deliberately left as unaltered as possible, although a quick glance reveals bulkier rear quarters and a squared front end. Underneath were the early mechanicals of what would evolve into the production GTR. For all markets with the exception of Japan and North America, the R35 GTR is no longer offered, as crash safety protection in Australia and new noise laws in the UK and EU resulted in Nissan no longer being able to offer the vehicle for sale. Sales of the 2024 model year will be conducted through 2023, up to an unspecified limit number in the remaining markets. One area of note when searching for a used example of a GTR is the multiple revisions that Nissan has made to the models since its release. Some of these are minor upgrades, others are more pronounced changes. If you've been searching and found a notable price difference between two model years, then you are likely looking between two updates. First, we'll cover Nissan's recalls for the GTR and common faults to look out for when searching. Where possible, we'll highlight the country or region specific recalls. In February 2015, a recall was issued for 2009 model year vehicles for a steering column tube. We found this recall issued in North America, however a number of recalled vehicles by Nissan suggest it was a wider recall across world markets. In November 2015, a recall was issued for 2016 model year vehicles. Only a small number of cars were affected. This recall was for a missing certification label pertaining to the vehicle's loading and appears to have been limited to North American GTRs. In 2019, a recall was issued for a number of GTR vehicles fitted with reversing cameras after a report of the backup display becoming inoperative. A wide number of Nissan vehicles were affected by this recall, including a number of GTRs sold across the world. A recall for steering knuckles that can deform was announced in May 2021. A chassis run was not announced, but these appear to have been listed across world markets. Finally, although not officially a recall, a service bulletin and voluntary service campaign coded P3208 was conducted in March 2013 for model years from 2009 to 2011 to replace steering lock assembly with a new unit, part number D870-JF00D. The original item was not found to fail or affect safety, but a number of owners were reporting a failure to start their vehicles due to steering lock not initiating. In the USA, this service bulletin is coded SB-1005-1829-6628, and in the UK it is coded NCA 2013/008. Next up, we have the common areas to look for when searching for a GTR, but we'll start with a housekeeping note. Although service history is important, a closer inspection should be made of who had serviced the GTR you are looking at. A number of specialists and Nissan GTR dealers with performance centres are capable of thoroughly servicing and inspecting a GTR. Nissan wasn't messing around when they launched the GTR, and one of the reasons for the delay of the European market beginning deliveries in 2009 instead of 2008 like the USA and Canada was that Nissan needed to outfit enough dealers with performance centres to handle the GTR. If looking between one with Nissan or well-respected GTR specialist history versus unspecialised garages for servicing, a price premium is to be expected. If looking for an early GTR manufactured in 2008 or 2009, you might find the gearbox doesn't shift as smoothly as desired, or a short delay might be noticeable. Ask a seller if the transmission control module has ever been reprogrammed. If not, then updating it to a 2010 model year software should give a noticeable improvement. Any GTR displaying a limp home mode due to the gearbox is likely suffering from a failed transmission solenoid. Replacing the part is one of the first areas most specialists will advise to rectify the issue. It is strongly advised not to continue using the vehicle if a solenoid has failed, as it could lead to extreme wear of other gearbox parts, making it more expensive and time consuming to rectify, as Nissan usually only provide a replacement as an entire gearbox unit. However, many specialists can replace parts or upgrade parts if you suffer a failure. 2011 onwards cars suffer this issue much less, and by 2013 the gearbox issues are almost unheard of for any standard or lightly tuned GTR. Inspect the rear shock absorbers as best as possible before purchase. Older GTRs in particular are suffering this failure. Some owners take this as an opportunity to upgrade all 4 shock absorbers. If a GTR has been stored for a long period of time, or is an early model, then failure of the ABS pump has been known to happen. A replacement pump resolves the issue. Look for any signs of water ingress into the boot, or as some call it, trunk area. A design flaw where the lid and bumper meet can allow the build-up of dirt and road grime, resulting in water being able to be channeled away to the ground. Any clicking noises from the front wheel hubs can be resolved by dismantling, cleaning and applying copper grease. The hubs can accumulate dirt, leading to corrosion, causing this issue. Assuming the corrosion can be treated and is no longer compromising a component, the hubs should no longer click after treatment. Make sure to crank up the speakers and listen for distortion or rattling from the Bose speakers. This is becoming somewhat of a common failure, and although fairly easy to fix, it will take a competent garage a few hours labour, plus new parts to get you enjoying your favourite tunes again. If you view a vehicle and find the intelligent key is inoperable, a likely cause is water ingress, causing poor contact with the key as corrosion builds. Finally, there is one of the most common faults reported, a rattle from the bell housing between the engine and gearbox. The volume of the noise varies on a case-by-case basis, so make sure to have a good listen standing in different areas around the vehicle, and on a test drive, have someone in the passenger seat with you, also listening out on their side. The noise is a faulty bearing at the end of the shaft, and an aftermarket part can be designed to better withstand temperature cycles and should rectify the issue. Before we move on to the engine, we'll make 2 notes. Firstly, inspect all 4 tyres across the tread on any possible purchase. High wear is common for owners that regularly drive their GTR enthusiastically, and due to the all-wheel drive system, it is advisable to change all 4 tyres at one time. Secondly, when looking at a possible used purchase, the GTR can give you more information than its owner. A Bluetooth interface that interacts with the car can, with the owner's permission, allow you to see the saved data of the car's performance. This includes the number of standing launches and high gearbox oil temperature alerts, along with if the car has been tuned. Such connections should only ever be used after the consent of the owner or garage selling the vehicle is obtained. And although it cannot tell you everything, it can give you some insight into how hard the GTR you are viewing has been driven. Although we would stress that the GTR is a robust vehicle, and as long as it has been maintained well, it can stand up to a lot of high demand driving. Next up is the engine, a reminder that if you're enjoying the video to leave a like and consider subscribing, as you never know what car you might want next. Although the motor in the GTR remains a 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V6 coded VR38 DETT, featuring a 60-degree angle and parallel turbos up to the date that we have created this guide, Nissan appear to never really be finished tuning the engine. Updates are consistent, however to simplify things we'll highlight the 3 eras of this motor. These are the engines coded CBA-R35, which was the first iteration built into 2010. Then DBA R35 that began being fitted in 2010 until 2016. Both of these share a red line of 7,000 RPM. And then there is the 4BA-535 fitted in 2016 until today that raised the red line to 7,100 RPM. We noted that across world markets slight differences in power ratings were given, likely due to differences in testing and fuel rather than the motor itself. Nissan also made minor power upgrades during the 3 eras and bumps in between. Again, we'll simplify things by using generally accepted power bands across the 3 engines, but note a particular model year in your home market may vary slightly. Power in the CBA engine was rated between 473 to 478 brake horsepower. In the DBA motor it rises to 523 up to 542 brake horsepower, and in the 4BA motor a world figure of 557 brake horsepower is generally accepted. Nismo and track editions are rated at 592 brake horsepower, and the GTR R50 was rated at 710 brake horsepower. There is also an array of special edition limited production vehicles with varying power output, but as these were generally produced in single digits, we'll leave them aside for this guide. If we have missed a model or power output you feel is worth mentioning to a used buyer, please add it in the comments below. Fuel economy varies across the years for a variety of reasons, including Nissan's upgrades, but also because fuel economy figures were harmonised across world markets during the GTR production, making newer models appear less efficient when in fact the testing standards had changed. Due to this, we're going to quote an average figure of UK 23 miles per gallon, USA 19 miles per gallon, and 12.28 litres per 100 kilometres. We found very few areas of common concern with the motor in the GTR. Fueling issues and misfires came out on top, but they can also suffer overheating due to a failed thermostat. We would stress though that the number of reports on well-maintained vehicles was incredibly low. These issues appeared to arise on examples that had not received all of their scheduled maintenance or were not cared for by a recognised specialist or Nissan Performance Centre. Engine rebuilds have been recorded, however the reasons behind these vary, and we found more than one example of a buyer getting the cheapest GTR they could find and then getting the engine overhauled and tuned by a specialist. This skews the figures on engine rebuilds, owners wanting to chase 4-figure horsepower, and so buying examples that may have been in great condition but electing to rebuild them to get all the major work done for a high horsepower build in one go is not uncommon. Once these engines exceed 1000 brake horsepower, it is generally accepted that all bets are off for engine longevity, especially as heavy track use and constant standing start launches cause even the best engineered mechanicals to fail sooner rather than later. GTR engines are not perfect, and being hand built there will be some variance between motors, but Nissan's tight tolerances and dedication of the Nissan staff that build these motors at the factory mean that the GTR has maintained a very strong record of reliability from its engine, and with correct maintenance there really is a little of concern. Older examples in standard form are now being seen with well over 100,000 miles, receiving only regular scheduled maintenance. For our picks there is a balance to be struck. A 2011 model year seems to be the best mix of affordability and update. If looking at the higher end of the budget, the Bayside blue colour that originally featured on the R35 GTR was introduced in 2019 for the 2020 model year, along with several other minor updates. As ever, all the best with your car search.